Hey, what's up guys? I'm just here doing a quick tutorial for my boy Gary. There's some basic things that he wanted to learn about Ableton's Operator synth. So I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown of some things that I've learned. I'm not a professional, I've never been to school, so there are probably some things that I'm wrong about, but that's okay. And if you are watching this and you're already pretty familiar with synthesizers and things like that, then you probably don't want to watch this video because it's a fairly introductory video. It's just about basic sound design, so I'll save you some time right now and tell you to just turn it off. But if you want to learn some basic principles of sound design and just about a tiny bit about how synthesizers work, then here you go. Alright, so we're going to start off right now by dragging our blank operator track into this MIDI track right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring up operator. And now you see on any synthesizer you have what are called oscillators. And these oscillators are right here, A, B, C, and D. And as you can see from the level button, the only oscillator that's actually going right now is oscillator A. And for everyone new out there, what an oscillator does is it's basically the sound generator, right? It generates a sound wave that you can change the wave that basically generates sound. That's basically what it does. So this is the only one we have right now that's generating sound, and you can hear that sound being played right there. It's just a simple beep. And so what happens is A, B, C, and D are all set to generate sounds. If we turn them all up, now they're all going to generate sounds. And right now our default settings for A, B, C, and D are all the same if you look in these parameters. So this is the parameters of D, this is the parameters of C, parameters of B, parameters of A, all right here. And as you can see, they're all the same. They didn't change at all because, well, they're exactly the same. So right now we're in an algorithm that is set to frequency modulation. And what that means is if we can look over here, and this is our algorithm right here. And what's happening is A is being sent to B, which is being sent to C, which is being sent to D. And what that's doing is it's causing a lot of frequency modulation, and that's one thing that Operator does, is it's an FM synthesizer, which is good for a lot of sound design, but typically I stray away from FM synthesis because frankly I'm not that good at it, and I don't know how to use it that well. So I'll show you what that sounds like with them all turned up being modulated. Kind of that really high-pitched, weird frequency sound. So to change it so that Operator can become more of a straightforward synthesizer, we're going to switch the algorithm around, and see, now you see it brings up, when we click on the algorithm, it brings up this tab right here. Right, so this was our oscillator 1 tab, or A, and this is our algorithm tab. If we switch it to this, see, these are all the other different algorithms you can go through as well. All kinds of different ones. You see the routing pops up on them. So if we go to this one right here, now it's basically going to make all of the oscillators independent. So what that does is it allows us to use 4 different oscillators to give it a really fat, rich, and thick sound. And that's what we want. So now let's do some wave adjustments. So as far as we talk about different waves that synthesizers use, your pretty standard ones are going to be basically sine, saw, and square, and triangle. Those are your major ones. A lot of heavy synths use a lot of saw waves. I prefer to use a lot of saw waves in my songs. And I'll kind of show you what the different ones sound like. So this is a sine wave, right? If we go down here to saw D, and then, so now you can notice we only changed oscillator A. B is still a sine. A is a saw, C is still a sine, D is still a sine. Alright, so we can change them all now to saw waves, and let's hear how a saw wave sounds. This is going to be a pretty fat sound right here. Let me change my computer octave down so that it's not playing such a high. And you see it's kind of more, I don't know, it has a little more depth to it. As opposed to a saw wave. You can play even lower. I don't have my MIDI controller on me, I'm just using my computer keyboard right now. So those are basically oscillators, and you know, you can even change them around to maybe 1 or 2 saws and 1 or 2 sines or whatever you want to do. So if we make that, you can't really tell that much of a difference, but maybe if we change them, it gets a little less kind of raspy. That's what I call it. See, it gets a little more mellow. So now what we have is basically 4 oscillators going at the same time. Let me change these back to saw waves for our example. And what we want to do now is sort of look at these knobs over here to the left. What these knobs do, the coarse and fine, are basically your detuning of your synthesizer. And what detuning is in principle, you know, there's mathematical concepts behind it, but you kind of add higher timbres to your sounds by detuning your synthesizer. And what I mean is, listen to this. And if we detune, you can hear it get higher and higher. So let's set some detuning. Let's keep this at 1. Let's do, I don't know, maybe let's try the fine a little bit. Let's do 5, 10, and let's see how this sounds. That sounds nice. Alright, so you see it kind of it throws them into different frequencies so that they can fill up bigger ranges of the spectrum. Over here we have, so those are those 4 tabs and this tab right here. This 5th tab right here is your pitch envelope. The only time I typically use a lot of pitch envelopes are when I do bass drops and things like that. And to be honest, I'm not that familiar with them, so I'm not going to go into them too much. But it basically raises the pitch of the sound. And that can be adjusted with the attack and decay and release time. What I like to do is turn the stereo up right here. This spread button basically is kind of like a stereo effect. So if we turn this up, the sound kind of resonates. And what else we can do is, I mean, if you ever need to transpose it up or down a few steps, like we want to go 12, up 12, it's going to give us a higher octave now. I'm playing the same keys I just was, but it's in a higher octave now because we've transposed it. So that's the pitch envelope. The filter envelope is basically your basic high and low pass filters. So if we turn on our filter, it's set at low pass right now, so everything in the low end is going to be passed through the filter. It's going to get higher and lower. And then the same thing is high, and then there's all kinds of different settings for your lows and your highs, and there's a band pass setting. But this is just, again, a really basic video. So there's a high pass filter. Everything high is going to be passed through. And your resonance right here knob, this is kind of what I like to just think of as the hissiness of the filter. It just kind of makes it sound very, it's kind of the sound of the filter itself. So if we go up in frequency, you can hear that get kind of a higher hissing sound. Let's see the filter. This right here is your LFO. Your LFO stands for a low frequency oscillator. So all 4 of these oscillators run very fast. So fast pretty much that you can't really distinguish them compared to what we can do with an LFO. Let me turn my tempo up over here so we get a little. Let's go to 140, some dubstep tempo. Actually, let's bring it down to 132. Alright, so for your LFO, what you basically do is it's gonna oscillate much slower than your main oscillators. That's so what happens is you end up getting like a 1 1 1 1 1 1 sound, and you can create vibrato and you can create like a dubstep effect with your LFO. So let's turn our LFO on, and right now it's controlling all of our oscillators. That's fine for our example. But you can change it to control just the filter or just A, B, C, or D. Dubstep, it controls the filter if we got our filter on. And so what it's going to do now is do that different more or less. And what we can do is we can sync that to our tempo. So a lot of dubstep sounds, low, and then all they do is they modulate that. But I would use a different sound design in here if I wanted to do a dubstep sound. But that's what an LFO is. So these are just basic ways to generate sounds with Operator in Ableton. And another thing I'm going to touch on, and these are the most important factors of your oscillators, are every oscillator has an attack, a decay, sustain, and release. And they all serve different functions. Your attack function is basically how long it takes for the wave to get to its peak height. So we have a very low attack of 0 right now. Now if we were to turn this attack up, let's say, I don't know, sure, let's do 364. And let's do it on all of them. 364. Just to make them all unison. Now we have an attack time. It's going to take 364 milliseconds for this wave to get to its maximum height. Kind of works, gives it like a rising effect. Your release value is basically like how long your sustain is, how high it's going to be sustained at, which is right here. We have it all the way up, so it's going to sustain whatever value we reach. And the release is how long after you let go of that key is it going to hold. So if we turn our release way up to, like, let's say 2.49 seconds, for instance. Let's do that to all of them. Now if I press it, it's going to hold that note for longer. So it kind of fades out slowly. With my synths, I typically bring my release up to like around 4 seconds, just because it sounds kind of nice, and I feel that at this tempo, it gives it a good release effect. So we bring them all up. Let me bring these attacks back down to 0. I can just drag it over also. That's the other way, is to just drag it to where you want it, and it'll change the value right there. You see it kind of holds that note a little longer. And that's going to be basically it for this tutorial. I'll go over some other things later on, but that's just the basics of sound design, so don't be scared to just get in there and mess with your oscillators and try to create your own sounds. It becomes really, really easy to kind of hear something in your head and be able to recreate it with any type of synthesizer. That's it.